Joined by Stephen A. Smith of First Take. Look, this has been the topic all day. I watched your show as much as I could this morning, and I know that you all discussed it. I want to piggyback off of what Darren Woodson just said. He said Jerry Jones is grandstanding. He understands the business side of things. It's not necessarily about what his players shouldn't do. Your take?
Well, I think he's right. I think that what it comes down to is that, listen, I'm not being disrespectful here, even though I hate on the Cowboys because I'm a native New York. It's all in fun. On the serious issues, we understand that Jerry Jones is a brilliant businessman.
Sure.
He is about his money. He made a $180 million investment, if I remember correctly. The Dallas Cowboys are now worth in excess of $4 billion. This man knows how to make money. He's a marketing genius. And it's about the bottom line. It's not about the American flag. It's not about patriotism. It's about those who patronize his product and his brand. And you're down in the heart of Texas, and you're going to have some folks there that wear their red, white, and blue on their sleeve, that wear patriotism on their sleeve. And if they have the impression that individuals are being disrespectful in any way, regardless of how misinformed they may be, because they're not sitting there and disrespecting the flag. We all know it's about oppression, inequality, brutality on the part of some police officers. That's the original incentive behind all of this. They're going to interpret it differently. And as a result, they're going to put their money where their mouth is. Now, as a friend, you know, as somebody that has a bevy of friends who are conservatives, I'm an independent, but you have people who are liberal, you have people who are conservatives. One of the things that my friends constantly talk to me about when they mention folks that drape themselves in the flag, that wear their patriotism on their sleeve, while folks are protesting during election time, they simply go to the polls. You know, when it comes time for issues that permeate our society, while people are protesting and making noise, they simply make their noise with their wallets. And Jerry Jones is smart enough to recognize that that's exactly what may transpire here. And he is saying, there's no way in hell I'm going to allow my bottom line to be affected. But he's also taken into account the fact of who his roster entails. If Michael Bennett was on this roster, if Richard Sherman was on this roster, if Malcolm Jenkins for the Philadelphia Eagles were on this roster, I'm not sure we'd be hearing that from Jerry Jones. But when you have Jason...
Wait a minute, why wouldn't we be hearing that?
Because they're star players who would never go for that, and they call his bluff.
So you're
they call his bluff.
So you're telling me his star players who maybe
they won't.
Will not do that.
They won't, and here's why. If you really, really think about it, Jason Witten would never do it because obviously he feels differently. The other two guys, Ezekiel Elliott in any position to protest anything at this moment in time?
No,
I don't think so.
Not.
Okay, and Dak Prescott's a second-year player. He's not going to do that. So who else is there? You don't have any other stars on the Dallas Cowboys. They're worried about their paycheck. They're worried about their livelihood. If you've got guys who are making an exorbitant amount of dollars, who are huge names, who resonate in such profound fashion that the words that elocute from their mouths are going to have an impact, not to mention their play backs them up to such a degree, you're not going to take the same stance, in my opinion. You are not going to take the same stance against those guys that you are taking against these guys. That's the difference. It's about Zeke. It's about Dak. It's about Des Bryant, another individual. He's in no position to protest per se. I mean, he's overcome a lot, and Jerry Jones has helped him immensely. These are not individuals in a position to go up against Jerry Jones. Some who would, that are in that position, that have a level of fearlessness towards them and courage, not to say that those other guys don't, but these guys, the Michael Bennett's, the Malcolm Jenkins, the Richard Shermans of the world, no, there would be an entirely different approach to those dudes than to these Cowboys.
Okay, last question. If Jerry Jones came out and said, quite simply, this is about business, can anybody be offended by that?
No, and which is what I said on First Take. That's my issue. If he said it's about business, no matter how offended people will get, I would be the first one standing up and saying, y'all get over it. You know why? Because the man's a businessman. He is telling you it's about business and it's about his bottom line. The problem is that he took a knee with these guys, then stood up for the national anthem, then got a call from President Trump, and all of a sudden modified his position. There is no collective process involved that mandates players have to do what he's saying. The NBA has that. The National Football League does not. They strongly suggest and encourage, but they don't mandate, which means that these individual players are not in violation, regardless of what tweet the president sends out, regardless of what Jerry Jones says President Trump informed him about, even though President Trump shouldn't be informing Jerry Jones about any bylaws associated with the National Football League because he's an owner who influences the commissioner and influences policy and bylaws in the National Football League. But in the event that that's the truth, and that's what happened, the bottom line is clear. There's no policy absolutely positively mandating that these players conduct themselves the way that Jerry Jones says. All Jerry Jones has to do is come out and say, look, I'm a businessman, I'm a football owner. This ain't about politics or anything else to me. This is about the business of football. I'm making this money. Do you want a piece of it or not? If he did that, no matter how much it turned people off, you'll get over it because it's about business.
Well, it's more palpable because it's about business.
It makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense, and it's something that we can explain without the emotion behind it.
Right, without the emotion. Stephen A. Smith joining us to talk about Jerry Jones and his Cowboys and the protests. I appreciate it, friend.
No problem.
We're done. I guess I'm on the men. You know what I mean? I guess.
Are you healthy?
You look stellar.
Are you good?
I'm relatively. You know what I mean? Relatively. You always look stellar and great. And I was going to say this because we got to get to some breaking news.
Yes.
But this is my favorite time of the year when everything intersects. We're talking about basketball, college football, baseball playoffs, and of course the NFL. That's where we begin the show today, David.
We're trying to jam 10-pound potatoes into an 8-pound bag. Here we go. The breaking news that Diana Rossini reporting that the Saints have traded Adrian Peterson to the Cardinals for a conditional draft pick. Peterson not getting many touches in New Orleans and not doing much with the touches he got. As you see, just 3 yards per carry this season. He's 32, averaging 3 yards a carry. The guy who's been carrying the load in Arizona, Chris Johnson, is 32 and averaging 2.5 yards a carry. So perhaps an upgrade. We'll see. We bring in our NFL analyst here, Darren Woodson.
Wow.
How does this fit Adrian Peterson better in Arizona than perhaps it did in that crowded backfield in New Orleans?
More of a downhill running game. When you look at New Orleans and what they're trying to do with Sean Payton, they're not a team that wants to run the ball downhill. And we saw that. I didn't think it was a good fit when he went to the New Orleans Saints early on because of what they do with Drew Brees as far as dumping the ball off, throwing the ball, the passing game. They weren't a downhill running football team. The Arizona Cardinals will benefit from Adrian Peterson. And could you imagine this, David? I'm listening to Chris Johnson's on the team. Yeah. Adrian Peterson's on the team. Yeah. Don't you? The Arizona Cardinals wish this was 7, 8 years ago when those two were at the height of their career. But Adrian Peterson will bring an attitude. Without David Johnson being there and being that complete back, you'll see a little bit more attitude in the running game with Adrian Peterson.
All right, so conditional draft pick for AD all day. We'll see how it plays out there in Arizona. We brought you in to talk about the Dallas Cowboys in the situation with the owner, Jerry Jones, who has sort of forcefully said that any player disrespecting the flag will not play for me. Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan Radio today.
I think it's very clear the intent of the NFL for years has been to stand and have that moment in recognition, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, respect again for the flag.
Let's just say one of your players sits. Are you prepared to sit any player who disrespects the flag, including Dak or Zeke or Dez?
I'm not in any way going to conjecture as to what if we don't stand for the flag. The policy and my actions are going to be that if you do not honor and stand for the flag in a way that a lot of our fans feel that you should, if that's not the case, then you won't play.
Jerry, not going to play the what-if game there. What do you think? What would happen if a Dak or a Dez decided not to?
Well, here's the confusion. The team had already understood. This is the Arizona game a couple of weeks ago, Monday night game, the Cowboys against the Arizona Cardinals, and they had time to see what the rest of the league was doing.
Right.
They had meetings. They had a couple of meetings in the locker room with the ownership and the players. They all agreed we're going to show a united front by taking a knee early, but we're going to stand for the national anthem. And they all were in agreement with that. And they all understood for the rest of the season, we are going to stand for the national anthem. So here's the confusion for me. If the players are on board back then why say this? The reason why Jerry Jones is saying this and the reason why he's doubling down and saying it again is because he's grandstanding and he's putting it in a situation where I'm going to protect the sponsorship of the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry is a genius as far as understanding the business side of things, and he's explained that not only to the media, but basically to the players as well. This is a trickle-down effect. If we're affected, if our bottom line is affected from the top up, it trickles down to the players. And they all understand that, and they're all in agreement that they're going to stand for the flag.
So he knows no one's going to defy this.
Nobody's going to defy this.
Okay, here's my question. What is it about the Dallas Cowboys players that no one's I mean, we saw a couple guys raise their fist the other day after the anthem. Almost every team has somebody that's taking a knee out there. Why are the Cowboys one of those rare teams that's not doing that?
It's the Jones family as a whole. It's not just Jerry. It's Charlotte Jones. It's Charlotte Anderson Jones. It's Stephen Jones. It's the entire Jones family as far as their community service and what they do in the community in Dallas. They bridge the gap between the players, the police department, the military. I don't know if there's another organization within the league that does more for first responders in the Dallas Cowboys. And there is a relationship, a true relationship in the community with those players. And I think that's the reason why they understand it. And they take on the moniker of America's team. They want to stand for the national anthem. And I don't think it's been a problem. If you ask anybody in that Cowboys locker room, it hasn't been a problem. We brought the problem in there. Now, Jerry has raised the issue all over again, and now Dak has to answer the question. Zeke has to answer the question this entire week. And I think that's the distraction that we're going to see this week.
Quickly, Woody, tell me, how is the relationship unique between an owner here and the players on this team?
I think there's more of an individual relationship that Jerry has. And listen, he's an in-house owner. He's not a guy that's out and not involved with the team. He's involved with the team, and he's the acting GM as well. So his relationship with the players are more on an individual basis, not so much on a team basis. As an individual, he gets to know the player. Not only does Jerry, but Steven and Charlotte, the entire family. I think that's what it is. It's more of a family atmosphere probably than any other team.
Some unique insight into what's going on there with the Dallas Cowboys from one of the team's greats, Darren Woodson, joining us today as our NFL analyst. Kerry.
Joined by Stephen A. Smith of First Take. Look, this has been the topic all day. I watched your show as much as I could this morning, and I know that you all discussed it. I want to piggyback off of what Darren Woodson just said. He said Jerry Jones is grandstanding. He understands the business side of things. It's not necessarily about what his players shouldn't do. Your take?
Well, I think he's right. I think that what it comes down to